was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
I love it. For day work. Day work. Uh-oh. Turn it up one more, Andy. Right there. Mr. John Metcalf. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Welcome back, Jacksonville, to 904 Unfiltered. I'm Chip Davis, your co-host. It's Bob Morris. Actually, I'm the host. Co-host. We got our man, Greg King, redfish extraordinaire killer. Going to tell us everything about all the redfish spots. Hopefully, his partner, Steve Ives, is probably listening. But real quick, I want to thank our sponsors, too. We got Your Epic Vibe, Jordy and the boys. Chris Migleries up there in Roanoke, breaking out my girl's ice and knocking it out with his sunglasses. And one more guy we want to thank real quick, the one and only, the godfather of fishing, Mr. Dave Workman Jr. at Strike Zone. Go share, go luck him. Go spend some money with him. That was our first intro. How'd you like that?
I like it, man.
All right. Hey, guys, how do you like it? Give us a thumbs up for that one.
That's good. You got your jam.
Where's it go? Let's go. Let's go. All right. So, well, welcome back to another episode. I'm Chip Davis, and we want to thank John Metcalf for that introduction. It was perfect, just exactly like I always taught it. We told Greg about it. Greg was like, you were like, let's play Tool. I was like, well, we can't play Tool. We won't hear nothing. So John Metcalf recorded that for us, and he's actually going to be playing it live down at my first annual music festival, which I don't know if you can you hone in on that, Andrew, up there?
Not really.
All right, so you can see I got my new poster. So now I have all three of my productions. The Triple Challenge, one and only annual. I only did it 1 year. Probably won't ever do it again, but I did it. The first annual March 21st Music Festival at Palm Valley Outdoors. 16 years of the Flounder Pounder for Autism. That's 18 productions. Pretty stoked on that. And I'm not done with the music one yet. We haven't done it, but I got a good feeling we're going to pull it off. I get the right weather. And speaking of the weather, let's go right to the weather because the weather has been totally shit for fishing.
It's been rough.
It's been really rough.
It has been. For
yeah.
2 weeks, it's been a cold one. We're supposed to live in Florida, you know.
Well, we let's talk about that tournament last weekend.
Well, last weekend was the Florida Lure Anglers.
Well, we'll hold off on the redfish one because we're going to have the winner in. Damien's coming in next week, so we'll recap the one prior to the one that Bob just shot.
This was third place.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got third place.
Yeah.
Okay,
let's introduce Greg and then let's break into it.
Well, we're going to introduce Greg first, but we're going to do some mono talking. I want to because when we go to Greg, we're going to write to Greg, but we're going to ping pong. So we're going to do the FLA, which they just had their meeting last week, and I heard it was packed, but I had to work.
Yeah, we had a good meeting.
Yeah, they do their meeting at Dick's Wings. You know, we were stoked to have them out there. It's one of the best things I think has happened to the club was them moving it out of Mudville Grill and coming up there. I think like the camaraderie is a lot better. I feel like the fellowship is there. I feel like the guys are talking to each other where other times you were just like packs of people, like people will be over here. And, you know, we'll talk about your fellowship and all that, about people coming together later in the show. So Bob Morris, you shot a donut in the FLA, bro.
I did.
How'd that feel?
Felt bad. 2 weekends in a row. I mean, you know, what a time to get into a slump because we've got tournaments stacked up, redfish tournaments. And to be, you know, Greg will say as well, you know, the fishing has changed in the past probably 5 or 6 weeks from the pattern it was on. And I've been unable to adapt. So shame on me. But you know what? You got to keep swinging. Yeah. So I'm going to swing again on Saturday, and we'll see what happens.
Well, Bob, you're missing your magic juice, but, you know, I'll get back in the boat for that one.
Maybe that's what it is.
the juice kids lose. But anyhow, so you're just, that's a drop tournament for you, though, right? That'll be a drop.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is I'm kind of keeping an unofficial points on my desktop. I've got a spreadsheet, and with the drop, I actually move into first. So,
okay. So it didn't hurt you that
bad. It didn't hurt me. But now,
You don't
I
have
said,
any more drops.
if I eat a penny, I'm going to crap out a thin copper wire because the pressure's on and I'm tight. You know, there's
no more drops.
No more drops. No more.
And you had your partner, Brian McGowan, came back.
Yeah, Brian came back and we had a good time. And, you know, the funny thing is we had actually Greg helped me develop a strategy. And it had paid off pre-fishing, but it didn't. The thing that's happened every week is the front is hitting right on game day.
Yeah, I saw that. And I remember I was going to work. I called you. I'm like, what are you doing up so early? I was like, man, I'm working. Yeah, that front was coming. That Arctic blast was like, it was right, probably in Georgia, the borderline of it. So you were getting all the effects.
But these guys are figuring it out, and I'm just not. And that's okay. There's been other times when people do bad and I do good. So.
Well, that's what keeps you coming back.
It does keep you coming.
You had 14 pounds on the pre-fish day though, which was great. I mean, you had them. You had them.
Yeah.
And that you wouldn't think that the next day that float plan would change that much.
Yeah, it was a good plan, and it was a deep water plan, and that shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't have shut off that quick.
Not like that.
Yeah.
No.
Well, anyhow, so another thing I wanted to do. So we got Bob's zero report, and I don't know if anybody has a report on trout. I don't know where the trout have gone. They're dead.
I'll tell you. I did on my Thursday pre-fish. I came back and went to a particular dock that you showed me on the way back to the ramp in Mayport, and
it was holding.
Wore them out. I caught about 15. Well, no big keepers, but you know,
it's fun.
Nice ones.
What did you catch them on?
I just happened to have a heavy Dean.
Oh, okay.
And I just had it, had it rigged up. So I just pulled in. I'm like, let me make a couple of casts.
It's nothing like that trout bite. But we know the big, and the thing we'll jump real quick. Spring is always predicted by how cold a winter we have. And I've always said that. If we have a mild winter, we're going to have a shitty spring because it's going to warm up quick. When it gets, you know how long it takes for it to get cold? It takes just as long for it to warm up. So water temperature is in 47 right now. That's what I heard. I saw River. So it's going to get back to 50, 51, and then it might just stabilize for a little bit. But it's going up in the 80s. But I'm thinking that we might have a big trout run, and we'll talk about that a little later because I know you love the redfish, but you're a big trout guy like I am. Because I want to talk about the one that almost ate the other trout at White Shell. You don't think I forgot, do you? Yeah, see that memory? Bob is always blown away. He's like, "Damn, shit, you don't forget nothing." So we'll talk about that one. That's when you're running that bullet bass boat.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I remember. I don't forget it. I'm getting gray. You see all them grays over there?
Man, you got a good memory.
Oh, I do. And I couldn't tell you anything about yesterday, but I can tell you anything that happened 25 years ago when it comes to fishing.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I want to touch on something. Then we're going to dive into our interview with Greg, and I'm so stoked to have you here, dude. Because we've known each other for years, and you're looking stud out big time. I want to talk about my music festival real quick. We got coming up. So I told Greg that I was trading fishing poles for guitars, but I'm getting the same juice I got from the fishing tournament. So I'm just doing a little something different. So and you obviously love music. I can see how you reacted to that jam that you just listened to.
That was a good one.
So I'm doing a music festival at Palm Valley Outdoors, and it's coming up March 21st. I'm starting to feel the heat. So I'm going to start getting my ducks in a row and all that. Matter of fact, I'm picking up the sponsor check tomorrow, the title sponsor check. Stay tuned for that one. That's a big one. I'm proud of that one. I think I'm kind of starting to get this fundraising stuff down. I think people trust me and listen to me when I tell them I'm going to try to do right. So it's going to be March 21st down at Palm. We got 8 bands. It's free to the public. We don't want to charge anybody, but so we could, people will have merchandise and all that. But I just wanted to shoot that out there real quick and think if I could think of anything else that happened. I did go on a trip for a couple of days. Got out of Jacksonville, got out of the 904. It was nice. Yeah. I went and saw a good friend of mine. Came back, made it home alive, beat the storm. The day after the next, I was up in South Carolina when they got that giant low pressure come through there. So I got home safe and all that. So we didn't do the show last week because I had to go out of town. And then next week we got Damien coming on, so we're gonna do that. But right now I'm gonna turn it over to my main man, Mr. Bob Morris over there, because he likes to run scripts.
Yep.
And I like
Bob's awesome at that.
He is. I mean, he keeps me under control. I'm gonna back away here. I'm gonna put my real glasses back on, get these sunglasses on so I can see.
Yeah, you need to be able to read.
Yeah, I can't read. So
I've seen you on the boat without your glasses. It's not a pretty sight.
It's not a pretty sight, but anyhow, but I'm gonna turn it loose and I'm gonna let Bob introduce our guest and while I change out my sunglasses.
Well, first of all, for everybody out there, like a lot of us, Greg, we've got code words for spots and everything's a story. And, one thing I want to say is that, Greg, you've had some absolutely phenomenal, just the deepest conversations with me over the past few years about faith, family, and fishing, and good times and bad. And I just wanted to, you don't get to say this a lot, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you, brother. It's been a really,
Thank you, brother.
every time I get off the phone with Greg King, I feel better than when I picked up the call. And that's something to say, man. So,
that's me as well.
Yeah, but it's been real fun. And,
he's really spoke highly of you, man. It's like when we started talking about who was coming on, the first of the top 3 names, it was Greg. So so we've been talking about you since we started this a couple months ago. Yeah. He's like, we got to get Greg in here. So yeah, Bob really does put you on that. I mean, he don't look up to a lot of people, man, and I could just tell by the way he was talking about you that he's got you up there. You're up in the Hall of Fame, bro. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and I want to say that I feel the same way about you, Bob. I mean, some of the challenges that you've had in your life and how you have been able to adapt and overcome those challenges, and you're always such a professional in everything that you do. You're a great family man, a loving father. I mean, you are right there in my circle of trust, man. You're one of my Ironman brothers.
Well, I appreciate
you very much. And you are an unbelievable fisherman and a great businessman, but just all around
and a great surfer,
awesome guy, and a surfer. He's
a good surfer, man. I mean, we're gonna bring Mitch Kaufman in here and talk about that too. But yeah, Bob's got many things, but he always spoke highly of you. So just to let you know.
Yeah. Well, but I always like to talk about first time I met somebody, and we talked about with Bill Pittman. Well, now I'm going to talk with Greg King, and you may not remember this, but there's a place called God's Country, and up in God's Country, there's a place called the Pet Fish, and there's a place called Don Spot, and this is back probably back in '98 with Scott Aston, who put on the IFT tour, and we've talked about him the past few episodes. He had told me, he's like, you need to go up and kind of check this area out. And so when we were up in God's Country, you could go fishing and never see another boat all day for weeks on end, But I come up there one time, it's probably 1999, 2000, and we're at the Pet Fish, and there's this boat down there at the Don Spot, and we're both coming towards each other, and we meet, and it's Greg King. And I'm like, well, there you go.
What boat was you running that Bullet?
I think it was the Bullet. We had the Bullet way back then.
But you didn't see much of them because that bitch be gone. Wow.
No, we were fishing, and we met, and we exchanged pleasantries. There was no malice or anything. I don't know if we were in a tournament or just pre-fishing. And then right after that, I'm not going to name the name of the captain, but there was a local captain, and this is when the Redfish Tour was starting. So it was probably 01 or 02. The rumor was that he took a map of Northeast Florida and sold it to some guys down south for like $200 and gave up all the spots in God's Country. And then that year, I don't know if you remember, we was right there at the Don Spot and everything. We went running up there. Me and Jimmy had pulled a late boat number, and there was already 6 boats up there on this flat. And you're just like, what the hell? I mean, I'm going to tell a story on myself that I probably shouldn't, but I up there had a sharding in my britches one day and took them off and washed them out. And literally,
if you haven't done that, if you've been fishing your whole life, you shit your pants.
But I fished bottomless for about 3 hours. My pants were drying, and I wasn't the least bit concerned because I'm like, I'll never see anybody up here. And it really got sold out. But you've got it wired more than anybody I know. But what I'd like to, that's everything we want to start out. Tell us how it all started for you. Are you
wait. Let me do that too, because I want to do my own first time I met you.
Okay, there you go.
I mean, kind of like, because I do have a first time, because I think when I first met Greg, I want to say it was in the FLA.
Probably
was. When the FLA, when did it start? 2004?
04 probably.
I'd already won the Redfish Tour Championship. I'd already been fishing with Roger Bump, so I've been on the circuit for a little bit. I never met this guy. Well, we were leaving out of Sisters Creek, and I remember this dude going across the backside of those 2 buoys at White Shell on high water. I'm like, this dude's out of his effing mind, bro. Does he know what's back there, like landmines? And you just see this bullet go, because we're at the back of White Shell. And so I didn't think nothing about it. But what happened later is I'd already left the time when I started going out. And you tell us about that fish.
When I was in White Shell?
That time when you tell me about that trout story you told me about 20-some years ago. You remember how it tried to eat that other trout?
Yeah, so White Shell, that little chute that you saw me shoot through, I mean, now it's a little different, but you can still shoot through it.
It's changed a little bit. I mean, it was high water. It wasn't like it was blowing through at low tide, but I was like, you just don't see people doing that.
Yeah. And so that area in the back, to the guys that know, I mean, we called that Rich Man's Bay.
Oh, yeah.
That's Rich Man's Bay.
Landmines back there. You got to be careful.
But before it started getting pressured, if you had a tournament and you wanted to catch a big trout or a big redfish or even a flounder, you could get a triple back there. That was the honey hole. That was a great area. And you know how you come out of those docks and there's that one little point on the left-hand side, you know, you're just throwing a skitter walk up there. And I caught, you know, probably a good 2.5 pound trout, and I'm fighting it on the way back to the boat. And you know how them big girls are. I mean, she followed that trout all the way to the boat. And I mean, you know, you always try not to exaggerate too much, but this had to have been a 30-inch trout. Yeah. And she came up and swiped at that trout and took half that trout, and then took and missed the hook barely, but then just took half my trout off and just cut her like a barracuda. Yeah. And I was just mesmerized. I could not believe what I just saw.
When we got back to the dock, he started telling me that story. And what's so crazy, Greg, before you told that story, same thing happened to me in 2000, which was the best trout year I ever had. I had 2 fish over 8 and a 7. So I had a 7.5, an 8 3/4, and a 9 1/4. And the 9 1/4 was a trout that was, I told the story once before, it was up at Simpsons Creek. And I was fishing there, and it was, I was fishing after working because I worked night shifts. So I didn't have nothing to do. You remember when I used to work nights? I'd bump into you, you're coming in, I'm leaving. And you're like, where are you going? I'm going fishing. I had no, you know, I didn't have any responsibility just to fish. I had 7 days on, 7 days off. So I'm out at White Shell, and I actually had the old Walkman headphones on, and I'm in my John boat, and I'm, you know, working at creek mouths back in there into Kayak Row now. You know, you can't fish because there's, you know, anyhow. So anyhow, I hook a fish, and all of a sudden I'm fighting it. Next thing I know, here comes this big gator trout. It looked like a barracuda, and it starts sideswiping. And the water's clean in the Simpsons. That was like, and this fish, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, what am I going to throw to it? But mine didn't get eat. It didn't hit it. So the next day, I went back out there, and I went with my father-in-law. And it was the middle of the day, because this was early in the morning, so his tide had gotten lower. And I started, or on this little bank, I started catching redfish, and I was throwing a white top dog. And this was in 2000. I was throwing it with a 7.6 Calcutta Shimano, the Shimano one. Remember the brown ones they had? I've got one.
Chronarch? Or?
No, it was the rod. It was a Shimano rod, but it's a G Loomis blank. It's the same one I got at 7 foot left. Yeah. Anyhow, I'm throwing it with a Calcutta 150, and all I threw was a white top dog, and I threw 20-pound mono, super mono. I didn't throw any braid, and I just tied a big loop knot to it. And all of a sudden, it just poof, sucks it in. And I go, oh, it's another redfish. And it's a 32-inch trout. Ooh. I caught it. Ooh. It's the same trout that was trying to eat that trout because it was in the same spot. Yep. And I got it. And when I did, I had a Berkeley scale. My father-in-law was with me. He goes, Lands, because he always said that. You know, Lands, that's a big one. And I go, oh, my God, I got my 10-pounder. And I fall down on the deck of the boat. And I go, I got to call Dufek. And he's working at Strike Zone on Beach Boulevard. And I got my 10, you know, because at that point, that's the ultimate goal for trout fish, the 10-pounder. And I still have never got one. Not here in North Florida. So anyhow, and I put it on the scale, dude, and it weighed 9 1/4. And it was 32 inches long. It didn't have any spots on her. It was so old. It looked like a barracuda. Yeah. It looked like a snake barracuda. And she was just big. And if I'd have caught that fish, you know, in the spring, it'd have been 12.5 pounds. Yeah. Easily, because it was 32 inches long. Yeah. And I don't have any pictures of it. I had a Polaroid where I'm holding it like this because my father-in-law made me kill it. But it was shot. I caught it in the middle of August in 99-degree weather. It was already 12 o'clock noon. It's 90-some degrees in this fish. We threw top water all the time. Oh, yeah. It was like your one buddy, that's all he throws is top water. Dude. He's like, I don't care. I got friends of mine that don't give a shit. They will throw it. And I'm like, okay, but they'll catch fish on it. And it was hot. And I didn't have a great live well. And, you know, I was the fish of a lifetime. I killed it. I didn't get it mounted or nothing. But unfortunately, I don't have any good pictures of it. But and so when you told me that story, I looked at you. And I said, dude, I had the same thing happen to me about 4 years prior because it was in 2004 and I did this in 2000. And so they are and that was my one story. So, I mean, and that was the first time I met Greg and I was like, hey, nice to meet you, man. Next thing I know, I'm seeing this dude on ESPN and I'm seeing him win these tournaments. I said, I know that guy, but he was always a pleasant, cool cat. You know, you never dug into the controversy of this world because fishing can be some of the biggest bitches out there. You know, some people, grown men act like little kids. Yeah. You know, oh, I caught the fish where you get all the publicity and blah, blah. You know, it's so hard to find people that are dedicated teammates. Yeah. You know, I think I respect that with Bob and Jamie. They've been doing it for, you know, and certain people that remain loyal to their partners and don't let the wannabe fish star get to your brain, which a lot of people do. Yeah. And just remain, and you always see people like that keep winning. Yeah. You ever notice that?
Oh, yeah. The guys that can stick together. I mean,
having a good... the guy, Kyle Craven and some other guy? Those dudes kill it, too. Who is that? Didn't they just win one? You know, Kyle Craven or something used to fish with JD.
Yeah. Kyle's always been.
Yeah, they're always at the top.
Yeah,
but see, I watch these guys and I watch their names, but then you'll see the ones that hit the one-hit wonders, and then you next thing you know they're with a different partner. They're following year and they're with a different partner. So anyhow, but so moving on, that's my story when I first met you, and now let's hear about the Greg King.
Well, there again, you know, where did it start with you? Are you a Jacksonville local?
Yeah.
And tell us about early days and how you learned to fish and where you learned to fish.
Yeah, I'm Jacksonville all my life. I'm actually like about a 5th generation Jacksonville. My dad's from Jacksonville, granddad's from Jacksonville. My mom is from Douglas, Georgia. She's from South Georgia. She met my dad in Jacksonville, and shortly after that, they got married at a really young age. And my dad was going to college. My mom was working at a bank, helping my dad get through college, and he got a baseball, scholarship, and then he ended up getting drafted for the Cleveland Indians, and the AAA team was the Jacksonville Suns. So he was able to stay here in Jacksonville. He went to school at Ribault, and then they built a house in Lake Asbury.
Oh, I love Lake Asbury.
And man alive, I think they knew what they were doing when they built out there, because that is the place of all places to grow up as a kid. We had the lake, and then behind the house there was 2,500 acres of land, and we had a little trail that went down to Black Creek. And I mean, I was about 4 or 5 years old, and I was already fishing off the edge of the dam and catching bass. I mean, back then Lake Asbury had some giant bass in it. It had a lot of hydrilla, a lot of grass, and you can go down there and just wear out the bass. And then I had a little John boat that I'd paddle around. And I mean, we're Gen Xers. This is the time.
No, Lake Asbury. Now remember, I grew up on the west side. Yeah. Saeed, I went to Ed White, so I heard about it.
I went to Middleburg.
And you know what Lake Asbury also had? Hot chicks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm talking about the girls.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know Randy and the surfer guy, Randy?
Randy Broadwell.
Yeah, Randy Broadwell. And what was his girlfriend's name?
I can't remember. Tracy, maybe?
And they had the other friend that was a model, the real tall one, and she dated the other dude.
Yeah.
Anyhow, those were
those were good guys.
Did you know Tony? Man. Tony that was from down there? He surfed in the 80s, drove a Scirocco. Anyhow,
Tony Boston, right?
No, not Tony Boston. Okay. Anyhow, so we know I grew up with a lot of people from Orange Park and Lake Asbury. Man. They always had the hot chick.
And I played. We played. Back then, kids played. We played outside till it got dark, and then you'd have cell phones or nothing. You just played. I was in t-ball and baseball, and that's when I met Mark McMillan. We were on the same t-ball team together, and he was a great fisherman, and we started fishing together as little bucks. And 7 years old, I think Santa Claus brought me a Ginu, and then after that, it was over, man. I was running that Ginu all over the lake, and then dragging it into Black Creek, and then I started mowing grass, and I saved up enough money, and I bought me a little shotgun when I was like 9 years old, and then I was in the back there hunting squirrels and rabbits, and my dad had a bunch of beagles, and we'd clean the pens out and then deer hunt with the beagles. And just, if I wasn't playing ball or wrestling or something like that, we were fishing. And me, Mark, Pat Tummerlin, all of Jack Watkins, Mark Worley, we were always fishing in the lake. I mean, day and night, all the time, just catching donkeys,
giants.
Yeah.
Oh man, Lake Asbury. Yeah,
it was great.
You didn't know about it, Bob. It's like Lake Okeechobee. I mean, it was a spring-fed ponds had been there for years.
Oh yeah.
And then what was the name of the golf course they built near it? That was good.
That was
Cumber built that.
That was the Ravines.
The Ravines was loaded with bass.
The Ravines
I played golf there before.
So Lake Asbury is not far from the Ravines.
No, not at all.
Same spring
You can ride
system.
3-wheelers to the Ravines and hit that.
So the same. Kick it down. Oh, damn it. So it's the same. Spring-fed system and all that.
Yeah, water's real pretty, and it was just a great time to to be there. And as you guys know, I mean, we went to Middleburg and just continued to keep fishing all the time. My dad was a big time fisherman, so he loved to fish, and he fished a few tournaments, but most of the time he just fished with us because he just rather fish with us. So I was able to watch my dad, and we'd go to Silver Glen Springs every summer for like 2 weeks, and he'd bring his boat, and we'd have a pack of families that would go down there, and we'd fish in Lake George, and it was just a great time to be a little buck,
So you were like everybody we've talked to so far, it all comes from bass.
Yeah, it came from bass for me. That's
same
where
here.
that's
I did
where
the same thing.
Yep.
We would go to Rodman. Me and Mike Phillips would tote our asses to Rodman until I figured out about red bass.
Rodman all the time. Rodman, Orange Lake, Loch Loosa. We did all that. And what's the cool thing about red fishing? And even when I came back, because I was, when you guys were talking about all the great years of 99, 2000, 2001. You got to remember, I graduated in '88, and then right after that, I was in the Marines.
Yeah, I see that. I just saw. I was reading. Yeah, I was reading this. I kind of figured it. I mean, I didn't know that, but hey, thanks for your service.
Sure. Yeah. And and I was all over everywhere, and then all over the world. And then I was actually stationed in California. I lived in San Clemente. I surfed trussels all the time. Old man's everywhere.
Lowers, uppers.
Oh, lowers, uppers.
Yeah.
I mean,
I surfed all that. I did San Clemente. Then we went up to Oceanside Pier, which that was.
All the time.
Hit the jetties up there.
Yeah.
I surfed that up there.
Yeah.
I broke a board. I broke my Rozo at the Oceanside jetties. And I went through a whole trip in Mexico, 14 days of just gnarly. And I broke my board in Oceanside. But Oceanside pops too.
Oceanside does. And we shoot down to Ensenadas and Rosarito down in Mexico and surf down there. But I mean, you'd be at Trussell's.
So you're a waterman.
Yep. In the morning time before the sun came up, and there'd already be 25 locals out there. Yeah. You have to deal with them brothers.
So, you're in the Marine Corps, obviously, discipline.
Yeah.
And I had written down as my, one of my questions is, how did that translate over to your tournament success? Because I know it has to in some way, tie in.
Yeah, man, Bob, that is a great, great question. Only Bob can come up with some of these.
Bob
can come up with some good stuff.
He's our Flip Pallet of Northeast Florida.
So
the diaries of Bob Morris.
Well, I would say, looking at that, obviously, you mentioned the discipline, and that's there. And then I had a pretty good level of discipline before. My dad was very disciplinary, and we use that term around my family a lot, man. You show some D. You got any D? My kids know that, and they've always known that. But when you look at the Marine Corps, obviously, for what some of the things that I did when I was in the Marines, you had a lot of. I was in a unit called Stay 25. Stay stands for Surveillance Target Acquisition, and I had a group of buddies and that's kind of like the recon unit for that battalion. And so we had a lot of different missions that we had to do. And during that time, you have a lot of planning and strategic things to do during those missions. And so the Marine Corps also has a lot of acronyms. We use things like Salute Report, which stands for size, activity, location, unit, time, equipment. And you can see how that can correlate to your scouting ability. And then there was another thing that we called KIMS games, and that stands for Keep in Mind Sniper. And the KIMS games were really unique. You take a table like what Chip has right here, and they'd put like a poster on it. And that poster may have a naked girl on there to distract you. And then there would be like a canteen, a 5.56 round, an empty shell casing of a 9mm, a cigarette butt, a piece of trash, something like that. And then you would stare at that for like 30 seconds. And then you would have to write down, and there would be 15 or 20 items on there. Then you have to write down everything that you saw on that. And what you're trying to develop in your mindset is situational awareness and being able to see what goes on in an environment. And, another thing is, we didn't stop training or not do a mission on account of weather. It's raining today, we're not training, or guys, we're not going to do this mission down south because of, it's a little too cold. So any tournament, you always get whatever the weather is going to give you. So when the weather's absolutely horrific, I don't like it the best, but I'll grind through that, and I'll work myself through the worst weather conditions, and the planning and the situational awareness. Like for guys that fish with me, and I think I fish with a lot of very, very good fishermen, and I'm going to mention them tonight because they are great fishermen, and I learn from them. But I think if you had those five guys that fish with me the most, I think they would all say one thing Greg's good at, and that's finding fish and locating fish and just having a sense about where the fish are going to be. And I think a lot of that comes from the situational awareness that you're looking at, and you're keeping it an ideal in your environment. You're watching birds, you're seeing what type of bait it is, you're looking at the bottom, you're remembering the tide when you caught that fish, what was the weather like, you know, all this, what'd you catch them on, what the presentation need to seem like, but how that all channels into fishing, because in the Marines you were taught how to hunt and how to track and how to see things. And then I've been a hunter all my life and an outdoorsman. And so red fishing to me is so much like hunting and being quiet. And you learn how to be quiet in the woods. You learn how to be quiet when you're in the Marines, and how not to talk and move around too much. And I think all that has translated into things that I've been able to do on the redfish platform.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that you're a phenomenal sight fisherman, and now that kind of plays in. And you were a sniper, right?
Were you sight fishing when you were in that bass boat?
Yeah, what I did.
I didn't mean to jump ahead, but I was like, because I mean, I'm sure I don't think you got. Do you and Steve use the big platforms and get up?
Here's how it started. So Mark and I fished together, and I'll talk about Steve here in a second because he's a stud,
right?
And but when Mark and I were first growing up fishing together, you know, he would always get mad at me, and I would shoot him a picture of a ladder, and I would tell him before the tournament, I want you to get a good look at that ladder, because I'm going to be on it all day and you're working the trolling motor the whole day. And he would just get so aggravated at me, because back then we didn't have the XI5s or the Minn Kotas. Yeah. So one guy had to work the trolling motor and the other dude worked the ladder, or, you know, could stand on the ladder. And I just always thought, because I'm not 6'5", but I always thought if I could get a little bit higher, it would help me, and it does. I mean, you don't have to. These guys that have these platforms that are 6 feet tall that they can walk under, that's not a good idea. You just want to be a little bit elevated so you can see, because when you start putting too much of a silhouette too high, then there's that flip where it doesn't work. But my ladder is 30 inches. That's all it is. And 30 inches higher can see anything that you need to see casting wise. But prior to the XI5, when it first came out, I had to have somebody work the trolling motor. And I kid you not, some of them FLA tournaments, when I was doing it solo, I'd have my daughter working the trolling motor, you know, just when you had to have that other person in the boat with you. But yeah,
that's pretty cool. What's your feeling on that? Do you feel like, I always told Bob, and I like to circle back around on what we're talking about red fishing. I don't do it anymore, but I feel like watching it when you just have maybe a limit size on your boat. I don't really, the whole, when you go to, I get it in Louisiana. I don't feel like it just doesn't look right. I mean, I won when there was no platforms. That's what I'm saying. I won the old fashioned way where you stood on the front of your damn boat and you just cast it off your platform. I didn't try to get 8 foot up to where it'd be a disadvantage. I mean, I feel like you should have 2 different tours, one for the tower guys and one for the guys that want to do it the other way.
Well, the big platform, you know, when I was originally, because I ran that Bullet for a long time, and I'll tell you in a second how I got that thing. You didn't want a big, tall platform, because that thing would fly. The boat would run 100 miles an hour. Eventually I put a motor on there to make it run 103. Jeez. And that thing, you don't want a parachute taking your boat over. So I could take that little ladder and throw that underneath the deck of the boat, pop it up when I needed to. And not everything's always a sight fish bite. Sometimes you just have to, it can be overrated. I love sight fishing. I'm pretty figured it out, but sometimes you just have to cast. Right. And, and so I didn't always need that giant platform in my way.
But if you're able to use them, I mean, why not use it? That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
So if it's allowed, it's allowed. But I just thought that. But anyhow, can I ask him about something, Bob?
Sure.
Tell me how it felt to hold up that $70,000 check. Let's get what really matters, dude. Tell me about the juice, man. I want to know about the juice. Oh, Is that a good feeling? Is that your biggest win?
Yeah. And I got to tell you, that was, that
was a Jacksonville one, right?
No, that was Louisiana.
Even better.
That was going sweeter. Over there in their house.
So you both went on the road. Both of them went to Louisiana.
Yeah, that was Louisiana. That was a big show there. Yeah, nice. And that started out in the NRT, which is the National Redfish Tour, which is probably that's probably the biggest one. And I decided to fish that one year. I got a new boat, and in 2022 I fished it with my wife Jen. and we were doing, we were doing pretty good. And then we had some real bad weather, so I needed someone to fish with me on one of the go lives.
Yep.
So I called up Kent. And I was like, "Hey, you mind if I, have another guy fish with me?" So I called my buddy Jay Dupriest, who is an awesome dude. Jay is a great, great fisherman. He's super fun to be around, funny guy. But Jay's also that kind of guy that can fix anything that there is.
You got to have one of those guys.
I'm telling you, if your transmission,
I'm not that guy.
Yeah, goes out or from anything, Jay can figure out how to fix it. So Jay fished it with me, and we did good. We took like third or fourth. And then going to Louisiana, I wanted Jay to go with me to help with expenses, So we go out there, and I had never been to Delacroix in my life. And I'd only been to Venice a few times, and I didn't even know where Delacroix was. So I called my buddy Ron Sure up, and I knew I was going out there. So I called Ron. I was like, "Ron, I know you've been out there and you've had some good success out there. I don't need to know your A spots, but just tell me where the boat ramp is." And so Jen had bought me a satellite map of Delacroix. And so I said, "Man," he said, "Man, I'd be glad to." And I was, "Why don't we go meet for lunch?" And so a couple months before I went over there, he showed me some things on the map. He was like, "Okay, here's the twin pipelines. This is where the boat ramp is." And I was like, "Just show me where I kind of, I don't want to get stuck anywhere. Just give me a little bit of a lay of the land." And so he just kind of showed me how to run Delacroix in some areas, and then gave me a couple areas that he had some success at in the past, and gave me quite a few. So going into it, I kind of started studying it and then getting on my phone and looking at areas that I wanted to check out prior. So Jay and I go out to Delacroix, and I'm with my two brothers. And my brother Jeremy and Daryl, we roommated together, but we stayed in Hopedale. And Hopedale is a little bit outside of Delacroix. And Jeremy's so funny. He was so quiet because he'd been there a couple of times. And I think he had some inside information, but he wasn't showing his big brother.
Oh, boy.
He would rather beat his brother probably than win the whole tournament. And so Jay and I just put in at Hopedale, and we just started driving around. We went all the way down to Twin Pipelines, went all the way to Spanish Lake, up to Lake Leary, just driving around trying to find fish, trying to find some clean water. And then by the second day, we had some fish. And then tournament time comes around. We end up catching, some good fish, boat flipping 7.5 pounders, but 14 and 15 pounds ain't going to get you a check over there.
That's crazy.
But we didn't want to look like two mules. Right. So we weighed in some fish every day and caught like 35. I mean, we got on a bike for 3 hours where he and I both sat there on the couch and was like, "I can't catch another one." But they were all cookie cutter 7.5 pounders. So then the next year I'm with Steve, and Steve Ivy and I started fishing together, and we're making some traction. And then we make it to Delacroix for the big show, and we find some good fish, and now we're in the game a little bit. We're feeling like, okay, now we can compete. And I want to be in the game. How you go into a tournament and you feel good about it. Some of them you feel like, just give me the check now because I know I'm going to have it, and that doesn't always work out. But we felt good about it and had some good fish. And then right out of the gate, we're about like 25. And my new boat, this cat boat that I have, it runs better on a surface piercing type design. So I have to raise my motor high, and I run a lot of surface.
What you're running now is a cat?
Yeah, it's a tunnel hole. It's actually a Liberator with a deck on it. It's a super fast boat, but it's a Liberator hull with a fishing platform on the front. And I got it raised up, and I'd already blown 2 props prior to that. And then as soon as I'm getting it clipping where I need to go, I'm passing boats. We're running about 82, and I sling another blade.
Oh.
I mean, we're 45 seconds into day one of this tournament, and I sling a blade.
You spin the hub?
No, when you run surface piercing props that fast, you can knock the whole blade off.
Oh, okay.
I've got a stack of props in my garage like this from knocking blades off. Everybody's like, "What'd you hit?" And I'm like, "It's nothing. You knock them off." The bullet, man. I'd go through props, but this boat right here, I can go through them fast.
And they're aluminum, stainless steel?
No, these are $3,500 props.
Oh, shit.
That
you got a prop sponsor?
I need a prop sponsor.
Everybody out there, you hear that?
Need a prop sponsor? If you want to have your product battle tested, put it in this guy's hands.
Let me have it. So, and then I just felt so bad. I was like, goodness gracious. So that changed our whole float plan. And we ended up catching 14 and a half, 15 pounds on that day. And then we just put it on the trailer. And like Steve and I's philosophy is, top 10 or I-10.
Yeah.
And we're
I
heading
like
back.
that.
So we went back. So now going into 2024, we win the Jacksonville. We're doing good. And we're doing good for the whole season. And we are on our way now. Our goal is always to be the top team in the NRT, to win the team of the year.
What is that, a combination of all the tournaments?
That's all the tournaments that you do.
That are associated with that circuit. I mean, Power Pole.
It's a Power Pole Pro now, I think.
Yeah, it's the National Redfish to Power Pole Pro, but that's the big.
Kent Hickman put it on.
But
It used to be the.
Does that incorporate the Florida Redfish Series too, or is that?
It did. It had 1 or 2 tournaments that you could use for points on that last year. I don't think they do it this year. But the NRT is, it's North Carolina, it's South Carolina,
But it's all Power Pole.
It's the national one, yeah.
Okay.
And
you have to fish all of them?
You need to fish at least 4 or 5.
Okay, so you got to get out of your home water.
You're always out of your home waters.
Gotcha.
That's what's cool about it. You're not just fishing Jacksonville.
Those to me are touring pros.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You know what I mean? I was always a honey dripper and get them in my backyard. But,
yeah.
I mean, the guys that go on the road and do it on the road and you get off your ass and leave Jacksonville, you're a pro.
Yeah.
If you do it if you go in the different states and stuff like that.
Yeah. So Steve and I this time, we go out there and on a Sunday. So now we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to pre-fish. Give me 4 good days. And now I've seen it twice. And now I'm looking into some quadrants and some zones that I want to start zoning in on, because you can lose your mind in Delacroix. There's so much water and it's such a vast area. And then going into it, Steve and I find the perfect situation. I've got a clear water, a little bit of shell. I'm seeing sheephead, I'm seeing stingrays, and I'm getting the right kind of bait, the bait that I want to see over there. And it was perfect. And now I'm seeing donkeys, 4s and 5s.
How deep?
2 feet, 3 feet.
Okay.
And I'm
gin clear.
Yeah, and it's pretty clear. It's really clear. Not too clear, but clear. I don't like it super clear there, but I do like
Louisiana
it clear.
It was Louisiana
and
clear.
It looked great. And I'm seeing all these fish. And the problem with it, especially, a lot of guys that when they pre-fish, they're out there sore mouthing fish all the time. And I don't like to do that.
I don't understand that.
I don't. And so, but I had to stick 1 or 2.
Mm.
And the 1 or 2 that I stuck were 9-pounders. They were all perfect 9s. And I told Steve, I was like, brother, we're on it. We are on it. And so let's get out of here and let's go to an area that people see us and they think that's where we're at. But let's leave that alone until game day. So I couldn't sleep the night before. I was so excited. We get there right out of the gate to this place I call the Donkey Pond.
I like it.
And we go in there and it is, maybe 2nd or 3rd cast. Funk!
This is tournament day.
This is tournament morning. It's 7:20. I get that big fish in the boat and, grabbed him on the boga grip, 9, threw him on the scale real fast just to check him, not even close. Throw him in the live well. I'm like, huh?
28 over
27.
27, okay.
Yeah, he's 27. He's 26 and a half, maybe 3/4 with a good pinch. He's a 9-pounder. You need 2 of those and you got it.
Mm-hmm.
I throw that fish in the live well. I get back. I'm standing on the ladder. Go turn my bubbler on, just a couple minutes, leave him alive, and that fish is belly up. He's upside down floating. And I just lose it. I go down, and what happened was I know this later, but I didn't know that's what caused it. When I went into the live well, my remote went down inside the water and got soaked. And then as I'm trying to make this fish come alive, my trolling motor just starts going on high and spinning around in circles. And you can't do anything to stop it. I thought it was the trolling motor. Turned out it was the remote. And so I felt so bad for Steve. And I was just like, but buddy, I don't know. But we're going to still do it because I believe that you speak stuff into existence. And I said, that's fine, Steve. That's fine. We're still going to win this tournament. Do you remember what happened the very, very first time we ever fished a tournament together in 2017? He was like, that's right. We fished the Florida Pro in 2017. We go straight to the meat locker. from Mayport, drop the trolling motor down, make about 2 casts, trolling motor's shot. No trolling motor. So what do? I go post up on that oyster bar by the pet fish. We start throwing little bucks over that oyster bar. Bam. Then we go across from the Bob Morse at that spot that I like across from the Bob Morse. Post up right there. Boom. We have 13 pounds. We run back the way and didn't have a trolling motor all day. And I said, Steve, we're going to do it again. We got it again. And Delacroix.
Did you win that tournament with no trolling motor?
Yeah.
Okay.
I won it. And so Delacroix is not a place that you really don't, you got to have a trolling motor because you're in ponds and you're just fishing certain stuff. And so I made it where we could drift into a pond and power pole down and just blind cast, come out of that pond, catch a fish, come out of that pond, drift into another section, blind cast, drift across a point, blind cast, catch fish. By 1 o'clock. We had 16.85 pounds. And I was like, bro, here's what we need to do. Let's go back. They open up the scales at 12:30 or 1 o'clock. Let's go back. Let's wait. If I got to drive to Mobile, Alabama to get another trolling motor, I'll do it. And once we got to Delacroix and weighed our fish in, Frank Risk was there, and he was such a nice guy. Frank's a great angler and a super nice guy. He said, Greg, I've got a spot. I got a trolling motor service guy right down the road. Why don't you go give him a call, see if they can do something. We go over there. He sees my remote. It's just a remote. I buy another remote. we're back in business. And so then the next day, we're in 4th place. I didn't realize we'd be in 4th. My brother Jeremy called me. He's like, dude, you're in 4th place. And I was like, so you think I got a chance? And so
Donkey Pond.
Yeah. So we go back to this. So we go back to another place and that same quadrant. And we put a beat down on Bob. I mean, we were culling fish all day long and then came back to the weigh-in and we had a great bag. I knew we had a better bag than we did yesterday. And then, it's really cool the way the NRT does it. They put you, the top 5 teams weigh in last. So they'll check your fish, make sure they're alive. And then you go in and you sit on that boat. And then one guy goes, another guy goes, you're still on the hot seat. You got one guy, and that's the guy that was winning it. And, we had 34 pounds, and the guy that came in second, I think he needed like 17.6 to win, and he had 17.5, and we ended up, we won it, and
$70,000.
We won an 18.5 foot technical, a boat with a 115 on the back of it, and then that boat was worth 70. And then at that time, we got the Calcutta. We also won Mercury money. We ended up coming up with some, pretty good day.
Made it worthwhile driving.
It did, man. It did.
You didn't have to do the I-10 Shane.
No, we did not. And Steve and I, we ended up going back to the hotel. I mean, back to where we stayed. We stayed with Fred and Ron, and they're great guys to stay with. And they were proud, and they called us, and we just sat there and went to dinner that night, and then got up the next morning. Normally we drive back every time on Saturday night, but we just drove back. We were happy, man. I called my family. They were so happy, and it was a great feeling because you're going over there and you're competing against the Chuck McKinneys, the Phil Moraleses, Sean O'Connell, Eddie Adams. These are the guys that you see all the time on TV that you've always watched and you've always looked at them because their shirts are real sponsors. Yeah, they do it for a living. They're not. Exactly. They're not the 20% offer guys that
they're not getting a box of lures and you're on pro staff.
No, these guys are the real deal. And you're going over there and you're in their backyard and you do it over there, and that was a fun day.
2-day.
2-day tournament.
2-day,
cuts the luck right out of it.
Oh yeah. No, you got the first day is the most important day. You got to get in the hunt.
Yeah.
I always go back. I don't know if you saw these, Greg. It's probably been a long time. So talking about my only history of my life, that was my biggest win right there. And that was with Mike Phillips. And that was a 3-day tournament. And like you said, I beat my idols, that are still doing it, like, the Watts brothers, Tony Bozzella, C.A. Richardson.
Oh, yeah, Tony.
They were all in it.
Tony's a stud.
But it's not a better feeling in the world. I just feel like one-day tournaments are, 2-day tournaments or Bob, was yours a 2-day in Louisiana? Or 1 day?
No, it was 1 day.
Yeah. 2-day. I mean, 1 days are still stuff. I mean, but Louisiana.
I still got paid.
You got paid. Well, he won.
Yeah.
He won. I think he won a 191 Cayman Ranger.
You know, and then I went back the next year. That's funny. A lot of people don't know this story is that the next year Ranger had a contingency program. So Grady had broken it up into different divisions. There was the South, which was the Keys and all that, and then Louisiana, and then North Florida, you know, East Coast or whatever. There were 4 different divisions. So the top placing Ranger boat was going to be rewarded a 167 Cayman, like you guys, like Mike and them won.
Mm-hmm.
And we went out to Hopedale, me and Jamie, and I think it was like there was a tropical storm coming through, and they made us fish anyway. And we got on a bite, as you can do in Louisiana, and came in. And I think we got like 5th or 6th. But what happened is at that tournament, Eric Menino was like way ahead of us in the points for that division, but he rolled out in a Sterling, and Ranger's like, "F you." Who's second?
Ah, so you got a boat that way, Bob?
We sold that boat to Jeremy Shiloh.
Dang.
Yeah, so that was 2.
That's awesome.
And so I fished off that money for a few years. But that's the cool thing about women like that. Now you've kind of funded your habit for a while, you know, and you need to pop a big one every once in a while, because I'm seeing now this is expensive game. And I'm semi-retired. I'm like, oh, God dang, I better win something soon.
Well, I always thought it was always cool if you're going to do these tournaments, to at least get your entries paid by somebody.
Right.
Because then you're on bank money, you know, house money now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you want to do good and all that, but when you go to a 700, I mean, most of the tournaments sometimes are 750. I always pay 750. But if you got 450 paid for, you're going out there a little looser. But then you have the pressure of your sponsors. You're like, man, we got to do good. So sometimes it's like I'd rather pay, but then it just feels a little easier when you're driving home from Tampa and somebody paid your entry.
Oh yeah,
and you didn't cash a check or something, you know. And so
this year they're doing a little bit different. That in 2024 we got, you know, we won 2 boats that year, and it's funny when you win a boat and you got like my son George. You know, he's got a lot of little friends. I mean, and I've known these little bucks since they were 6 years old, showing them how to fish. And now they're, you know, Dawson graduated from JU this year. And when I won that one boat for 30 grand, I sold him that boat. I wanted him to have that boat. I'm not going to try to get 30 grand. I got 19 for it, you know. And then the $70,000 boat, my neighbor, his son-in-law was getting into fishing, and I gave that, you know, Steve and I gave that to him for, I think, 55, 54, you know. So, I mean, but now they're doing straight cash.
I'd rather have
much
cash.
Better.
Yeah. All my tournaments, even when I started paying out, I always paid cash. I just felt like cash is king.
Yeah, it is.
You know, if you got 2 other people in a boat, like, well, Mike and I won that boat, and Herb Payne Sr.'s son, Herb Jr., who passed away, was a good fisherman. He walked up to Mike and I, and they valued it at $27,000. He said, "I'll give you $19,000 cash right now." He goes, "I'll give you $500 each for retaining. I'll have you a cashier's check on Monday." Yeah. I said, "Sold."
Yeah,
you take it with you, bro.
Yeah.
Because you know, after 30 days, don't you have to take possession and pay the taxes on it or something?
Well,
you win it. How's that work?
You get the 1099 for what the MSRP is, and that ain't what you sell it for. So there's
but it's always good to try to get it. But I would rather. I wish a lot of these tournaments, and I hope they continue with these redfish guys, just don't use the boat sponsor maybe just for a championship, but just come with the cash.
Yeah,
you know, I'd rather just roll it, increase the entries, get rid of the boat wins each time, and just run cash because people want cash. I mean, you know, but but winning that Mamba is not a bad thing. I saw.
Yeah, they're doing all cash on all the ones, but then when you make it to the top 50, which we will, that's $125,000 Mamba. And
that's a hard boat to get rid of. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, that's a good boat though. Yeah. A lot of guys want them.
Chris Peterson just bought Frank Rist's boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a solid boat. Those Mambas are good boats.
So he likes it.
Yeah. Where are they built? Texas?
Corpus Christi.
Corpus Christi.
Yeah.
All these Texas boats. You got a Texas boat, don't you?
I have a Texas boat.
Can we talk about that boat real quick? Your boat.
The Bullet or the Fat Cat?
No, the one that you're running now.
Yeah. So I ran that Bullet for a long time, and the Bullet's a great boat. I mean, when I bought it, unfortunately, some tragedy happened. I lost my father at a young age, and he gave me and all my brothers, you know, 10 grand cash. And ever since I was a little buck, you know, when Dad always had, you know, kind of fast boats, but when we got blown away on Lake Santa Fe by a Bullet that went by us like we were stopped at, we were running probably 70. I wanted that Bullet, and then I went to the boat dealership and saw a red and a white one and then a solid white one, and they had that red one there, and they were like, well, that was a little bit more money. And I was like, well, why? Because it's red? And they were like, no, this is a bullet comp. It's a little bit lighter and it's made out of a lot of Kevlar and some carbon. And then I bought that one, and then ran a 225 Pro Max on it for a long time until popped it. And Scott O'Brien heard it blow up in Milco. And him and Wade Hastings were super kind enough to come give me a tow back. But, I had a couple different motors on that boat, but the boat itself went great. And then, oh my goodness, I love that boat. But I went through a, really tough divorce, as you know. I mean, it was awful. And after I had just about drained every dollar in the world that I had, trying to just maintain, I wanted just to keep custody of my kids. That was my main goal. I didn't have hardly any money left. And so the judge awarded my ex-wife the boat.
Oh, she loved that too.
Oh, yeah, she did.
Dagger.
Sure. Oh, yeah. And so I had no boat. So I had to go, about 2 years, 2.5 years, just saving money. And I knew about this boat in Corpus Christi, Texas called, it's a company called Fat Cat, and they build tunnel hole boats and they build V-bottom boats. But I've always known that a tunnel, if you've ever fished in a true tunnel, the way they ride is unparalleled. And I've been in every boat. There's nothing that rides like a tunnel. And all my brothers out there that have fished with me in that boat can agree. That boat of mine now, it is no different than a Formula One race car going around turns. It's flat and it just tracks. And the good thing is that the beam on the boat is 100 inches in the front, all the way to the nose. So you just have a port and a starboard sponson. So you've got a 100-inch beam all the way to the nose. So, and also it doesn't rock, it doesn't sway. When you're fishing on the front of a boat and somebody walks to the trunk and gets on that corner and that trolling motor just kind of tilts up. My boat doesn't do that. It stays solid flat.
When you say so Roger Bump had that Eagle skimmer, and it was
this is way different though.
Yeah, but I mean his had a snorkel. So what he did is we'd get going and he turned his valve and it'd let air get in there and it would raise it up. And it shot water through the tunnel.
This was like a true cat.
Yeah, but that was my experience with it. But we ran through some spit. We get through. I mean, he would have that thing. He had a 40 Yamaha on it, had a jack plate in that tunnel. You just feel it. We'd come up. And then be running. He had a low water pickup on it.
I have a low water pick. I run a 300R on it, so it's got low water pickup, and I can see almost a full half of a crab trap out of the water, and it doesn't even
go right by it.
Go right by it.
Yeah. That's a game changer.
And it runs and chop really super well. I mean, going across boat wakes, it's real stable. The boat, the platform, the no rocking, the shallow draft. It is great, and it's it's a quick boat too.
Are they a sponsor of yours? They sponsor you?
Mm-mm.
That's cool.
No.
Sometimes I just going out and getting that sponsorship and all that, and being on a team and all that comes with a lot of pressure. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you just rather fish by yourself.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, we all have. I had the boat deal with Ranger. Me and Mike, we'd get the boat the way we want it, then we had to get rid of it. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. We just got the boat where we want it. Now we got to sell it. Because you got to get it sold within a year or something, or take possession of it. And blah 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 blah. Anyhow, why don't you tell it? What's on the next one? Do you want to tell us?
We'll talk about this is a story that everybody needs to hear. Is you've been talking about little bucks like little bucks, but I want to talk about little buck fishing lure and the legend of the little buck.
Yeah, I heard you talking about the little buck. What is the little buck?
All right, so it started out years ago. We did a show out in Venice, Louisiana, and Hank was there, and he had
tell who Hank is.
Hank Parker.
Yeah, I know.
He was out there, and he was sponsored by Mans.
It's your stepdad, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He grew up. He lived in Orange Park. Did Hank come from Orange Park?
No. He's from North Carolina.
Okay, I got you.
And so he had Mans bait guy out there, and he gave us a bunch of. It's called a Mans mid-1. It's a shallow running crankbait, and the original is a golden croaker color. And so we're out there fishing and we're smoking them with that little buck. And then about a few months later, Hank was in town and he called me up and he was like, "Hey, you want to, go out on the boat for a little bit and fish?" And I was like, "Heck yeah, man!" And so we go out in God's country, man. We put in at the boat ramp and we're in his boat, and I caught fish in Louisiana with the little buck. And so I'm throwing elbow style spinnerbait and a little top water. And what's Hank got in his hand? Little buck. And he is just putting it on me the whole time. And I was like, man, why wouldn't I think about throwing that here if I've caught them over there? And so from that day forward, I started throwing that man's mid -1. And my brother Jeremy used to get them, a lot of them. He'd give me a few of them. And it works really good, bouncing, over oysters and stuff like that. And when I fished with Tony Baselli a lot, we had a little crankbait, and it was called a high back shiner. It was made out of balsa wood.
Yeah,
Bass Pro Shop sold it.
Oh, what's that other one he always loved so much? The guy at Arlington Bait and Tackle has the molds for now.
Oh no, that was
the Vita Bait.
The Vita Bait.
Vita Bait is exactly like a high back shiner, except it's not out of balsa wood.
Right.
And Tony and I used to throw that all the time and do really well. So, crankbaits, a lot of people don't know how good you can catch redfish with it because it's a good reaction strike type bait. And when you have fish that are settled down in the mud or they're just settling, you can get a reaction strike by ripping a shallow, running crankbait. And when they hit an oyster bar, instead of getting hung up, you just put the slack on it for a second and it'll float back up. And you can catch a lot of good fish. And little buck, that's what I call my son, George. Well, he's not little buck anymore. He's about 185 pounds of solid rock muscle who could tear your head off, and he's in the Marines as well.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Good.
I remember when you shared the story with me, you said the one thing, and I remember there was a tournament out of Mayport, and I come back to the ramp, and Greg had left me a little buck in the in my console, the boat. I'm like, oh, look at this. But I remember, the one thing you said that when you were fishing with Hank that day is that he came back and said, "I'm making 5 casts to your 1."
That's right.
Because he's up there fishing a jig or finesse presentation,
and he's
what we
making
would do.
5 casts to my 1. That's exactly
and
right.
that stuck in my head. And I took that thing down and we fished a tournament, me and Jamie in St. Augustine. And he's like, "What's that? Dumb shit you're getting ready to throw."
They still make them?
No, they don't make them anymore, unfortunately. And I remember throwing that little buck and reeling it, and a redfish came shooting out from underneath the boat and went like 10 feet to grab that thing. I'm like, I'm sold.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And now, you get into it, and Man's went out of business. I don't know. I keep asking Greg. I'm like, got some connections to get some of that backstop because
Somebody's
you can't find them. It's the mid -1. Yeah. And there's no other bait that's quite like it. There's some shallow running cranks
me and Roger started throwing that Strike King -1 or whatever.
The Strike King 1.5 works
we
really good
threw
with
that.
the square
We started throwing that down in Mosquito Lagoon and all that. That's when we first
Mhm.
experimented New Smyrna.
Yeah.
And we're doing the same thing, bouncing it. It had that flat bill, that square. We were throwing it with a glass rod.
Yep.
Had a 7-foot fiberglass because I like a bait caster.
Mhm.
And we throw it, and that thing just So when you hit them, it's not like it's not a fiberglass rod; it's glass.
Yeah.
So it's just nice. You just you didn't have to stick them; you just kind of raise it up, and they set themselves.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun. I haven't done that in years. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. It's fun.
Is it still work?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it's addictive. I mean, I didn't put it down for almost a year after he turned me on to. I'm like, man, I just can't get off this thing.
Yeah. That's the problem with me. I get on a bait and I'll forget to, hey man, that's not the only bait. Don't get stuck on a bait. And I tend to do that. That's why I love fishing the tournaments with Bob, because I'd bring my 4 and we'd be mixing it up.
Yeah.
We had a good time. Definitely.
Well, coming back to, we talked a little bit earlier about, talking about faith and hard times, and you've got this Ironman Ministries going. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the ministry? And I know you do the prayer at every tournament. Greg does the prayer in front of everybody. So
tell us
that's always a good way to start the morning. But
yeah, I love to be able to do that. I every time I go out in the boat with anybody, man, when I watch that sunrise, man, I go right to a prayer every time. And, a lot of it's for safety and whatnot, but that's just my faith. That's who I am. So Ironman Outdoors is, first of all, King Solomon was the wisest, richest man ever that there ever was. And he wrote the book of Proverbs. If you're new to Bible study, if you take your Bible, you open it up about midway right through here, that's Proverbs. And he wrote all those Proverbs. And everything in those Proverbs always relates to something that we have today. It's funny, thousands and thousands of years, Proverbs the whole Bible still applies to everything that we have today. And in the book of Proverbs 27, verse 17, it says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. What that really means is strong brothers need to be around strong men, and if you to be strong, you also, to make a sword, to make iron, there's a lot of banging, there's a lot of sharpening, there's some sparks that fly. So you need to always be around guys in your life that can make you better. They can make you accountable. They can speak truth to you. So you're never in a dark place by yourself. So you can always have some guys that you can reach out to. And I'm not talking about a drinking buddy or some couple of dudes that go out and chase girls on the weekends. I'm talking about true brothers that can bring wisdom your way, especially when things aren't great. Because whether you know it or not, there's peaks and there's valleys in life all the time. Amen. You're either on a peak or you're in a valley, and it's always going to come. And when you get into those valleys, you need someone who can help you through those tough times and speak good wisdom to you and then correct you. Because men, especially me especially, prideful. I can get to where I think I'm too cool, and I need somebody who can check me down and let me know where I'm at, and also just check on me and accountability to me. I have a couple of guys that I'm accountable to. One of my accountability partners is a guy named Wayne Brown. You talk about the greatest accountability partner. He is a guy that he's a pastor, but he's a missionary, and he goes all over the most dangerous places on earth to go spread the gospel. And Wayne used to be the head. He's probably going to kill me if I say this, but he was the head of the mob for the entire Eastern Seaboard, all the way up through Chicago. You think that brother hadn't seen some stuff? Yeah. See, when I want to be accountable to somebody, I don't need this perfect cookie cutter dude. Yeah, I need a guy who's been there, who's jacked up as I am to say, yeah, man, I've been there, because I know what that's like.
And you're like, really? Have you been there, bro?
Really?
Yeah,
have you been
there, man?
Yeah, no, Wayne's been there.
Yeah.
And
that's what you need. You want accountability. You want somebody
guy.
No, I get it 100%.
And I got a couple dudes that I can call. I mean, especially some of my Marine buddies, I got some, and when it comes to having good, strong guys and brothers, that's where likes and followers don't matter. Right. You need to be able to talk to somebody straight up, and you don't need 1,000 friends. You need 2 or 3 good, solid dudes. And one of them might be the guy you call at 2:00 in the morning, and he says, am I bringing a shovel or a weapon? Do I need to leave my cell phone where it's at? And that's good too.
I don't know if I have that.
Well, you need that. I mean,
we all need it. Honestly, as you get older,
you need it.
You get less friends in your life. You get a lot of acquaintances, but we get, I don't really have anybody. I don't think I could really call that would hold me accountable. I mean, I don't say that in a bad way. It just, you get caught up in life and hung up in something.
You get caught up in life.
Where do you guys do all this meeting and all this stuff?
We have meetings. We're having one. And so, Iron, let me get back to what it is. So what we found out, and this is the Ironman Outdoors ministry. So I've given you the basis of what the Proverbs 27:17 is. So we get together. We have a website called ironmanoutdoors.org. We have hunting and fishing expeditions all over the country. We've got land from Texas to Illinois to everywhere. And we take men on these retreats because, let's just say, we got four dudes right here. Sometimes we put our camouflage on, right, Chip? Mm-hmm. We say, oh, man, how are you, man? How you doing, man? I'm good. I'm pretty good. Well, that brother ain't great. Right. There's something going on. So when we get onto these retreats, we take our camouflage off, and then we talk about what it's like to be. We open up and we share some things that we may struggle with. And in the confidentiality of those dudes right there that we can feel safe with and talk about with. And we talk about what it means to be a good husband, to be a good father, to stay right, and to be a good servant in your community. And you learn from guys that are really good at that, and you see that. But then you have guys that you just feel like you connect with, and those can be some of your accountability partners. And we do this we have a retreat coming up in April at my buddy Robin Thigpen's place over in Keaton Beach. And it's a fantastic. Robin's one of the pro staffers. Frank Rogers is another one. Stephen Dallas, my buddy Thad Gilder that I just got off the phone with coming over here just now. These are solid dudes that we meet with at given times. Just because I just, hey man, how's the situation going that you told me last time? Are you staying accountable to that? Are you staying away from that? Yeah, I am. Or if I'm not, then we talk about it. Mm-hmm. Just keep each other accountable.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of,
Because I'll tell you this. Let me say this. If you want to there's an evil one out there that's trying to steal, kill, and destroy you. Understand that, right? Yep. And if he wants to take out a generation, or if he wants to take out somebody, he takes out who, Chip? He takes out the man of the house, because he's the leader. So if we can keep strong men strong and keep the enemy away from
more leaders than one leader, and he had to take
and that's who the enemy goes after. He goes after the man. If you can take a man down out of a family, then you can destroy that whole family. So we are here to make men, strong men, biblical men under the authority of Christ. And that's, if you can't fall under the authority of Jesus, then you have no authority over your own home or your own workplace or your own family if you can't fall under that authority. So we learn to submit to that and use the power. I mean, we got the ability to have the creator of the universe, who designed the redfish, made all the things, the plants, the deer that we love to enjoy. The creator of the universe wants a relationship with us. See, that's the difference between Christianity and just religion. Religion says, let's do all these things to make us better towards God. We got to do this right. We got to do this right. We got to do this. What Christianity does is, Jesus said, I did it all for you on the cross, man. I've done it all. I paid it for you. So you owe me nothing. By your grace, you are saved. And I love to know that that's the great feeling, because I have messed up a lot in my life, and I know that I'm forgiven.
Well, Greg, I listen to that, and it sounds like a lot of toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Which is the name of your fishing team.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
I like it. Well, hey.
Oh, I got that toxic. I get a lot of people that ask me about toxic.
What
does that mean?
You feel your exuberance and all. I can feel the passion of what you're doing and how much you feel about it. And I think it's great. And people feed off that, man.
Yeah.
They see you doing it. And then you are probably one of the leaders of it. Because I just feel like you're that kind of person, and people will feel off it, and they'll be like, Greg's a good guy. They probably a lot of people looking up to you, and the stuff that you've accomplished and things. It's not what I've done and he done and all that, but I mean just the way you present yourself. But anyhow, so we wanted to definitely talk that, but we got one more big question here, and I'm going to ask this one because I love what you're doing. What do you think the future of pro red fishing is, and how will you be involved?
I think that I think it's going to continue to. You're going to have probably a few big league tournaments that are going to be the survivors. Probably some of the big guys, as we get more and more sponsorship. I think you'll continue to see travel type tournaments. I'm also thinking that we're going to get into a little bit of, hopefully, some of that MLF stuff where you can, with the conservation side of things, where
do with like the
go live
with the go lives and stuff,
and it's a little bit more entertaining for the viewer, I think, kind of to see you not go, God, I tune in for them. Usually I'm working at the hospital on a Saturday, and it's on. I'm just watching it. It's cool because and the guys are getting better with the cameras. Hey, we'll go to boat number so and so. When it first started, it was like, get the lens, clean the lens.
Yeah,
it'd be raining, and you got, but the way that we have these scales now are just amazing.
Yeah,
and the way you guys hold the bag and you tar it out, make sure it's. I mean, to me, I enjoy that. I think I think the Elite Series has been ruined by their live video of it. When they used to make a 1 hour series, because you grew up bass fishing, we're like, welcome to the Elite Series. They have a 3-day tournament. But when COVID hit, they stopped producing and went straight to this live shit where they put somebody in each boat. But to me, that's just not, I don't know. I mean, I'm not, it's a whole different thing. The whole front facing sonar and all that, it's just taken away. I'm into Rick Clunn throwing a big ass spinner bait out there in the lily pads and shit and ripping lips. I don't want to see the guys standing there with a spinner rod and going, there goes my bait, and going down.
Right.
Oh, it's because you can't do it. Well, it's not. I don't want to do it. I mean, people will say it's fun. To me, when I'm slinging a big bait and I get a big blow up, or I think there's a fish over there on that point, and I'm going to fire that plug over there. There he is. Yeah. I don't even see him. I'm not saying not to use the electronics, because Bob and I need to be educated on electronics. We don't know a damn thing about electronics. There's advantages to that side scope. There's advantages that are front facing. But as somebody that's watching it, I'm turning the shit off. So the people that are sponsoring that don't want people turning it off. So how do you fix it? How do you make me want to get back to watching that Elite Series again? I just don't know how it's ever going to be. I don't watch this shit anymore. I could barely. I watch MLF. I'm burned on that too a little bit.
Yep.
I mean, but I like watching the redfish when they're doing the go live. I think that's fun. I know. And I enjoyed the shit out of the one Cincy was at down in Texas.
Yeah, I did too.
They did a great job producing that, man. I mean, the weather sucked ass for them.
It did.
But that was some solid good fishing, dude, by some really good guys, man. That was fun.
I like what some of the things like the NRT started this where you can't burn. Remember how you could burn the flats?
Yeah.
They don't allow that anymore. They don't allow you to be so high on your boat.
Yeah, I like that too.
You can't
like
be
I said,
so
I
high.
don't mind a platform like this, but making everybody have the same one.
Yep, you can't be so high. Right. And then when you take a lie detector test, and contrary to what anybody believes, you've probably watched too many TV shows. Oh, these CIA get bumping these light. You do not. A lie detector test is 2.5 hours. They ask you 100 questions about stuff, and you're hooked up everywhere. And one of the things they ask you, did you burn 2 weeks prior to this tournament?
Well,
and I'm glad they do that.
Guy, right? Because they were pre-fishing or something. One of the guys that won the big redfish, they were from South Carolina.
That was the year before.
Yeah, they got DQ because they got intel or something.
Well, he got intel. You can't get intel.
They will get you on that lie detector.
They will.
They crown the guys. They gave the plat because you cannot take the test if you even had a drink of alcohol, which they don't do it anyhow. But some of them were like, we're going to take you after. Some of them do it on the spot. I think that's okay. But to get the ones that these guys are talking about, the 2.5 hour one, did you have to come back to take her, or did you take it immediately after the tournament?
Immediately after.
And you did 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours.
That's stressful enough. Dude.
It is.
And you're the winner, so you want to have fun. But do both of you guys go or just one?
No, just me. I mean, I've gone on the last couple.
That's heavy, man.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Well, they'll convince you that you've done something wrong. You're sitting there like
they ask you stuff you would never think they would ask you.
Yeah.
They ask you some crazy stuff because they want to get your platform of what, and then they want you to lie on purpose. So then they see what your lie looks like. Yeah. And then they go back and they're asking.
Well, they have to build up, what is it?
It's a baseline.
A baseline.
They build that baseline.
So they'll ask you, did you beat up Bob when he was 5? Or did you do something wrong? Because when I had somebody lie detector to my flounder pounder, the guy got butthurt by it because I had the DEA. I mean the chick used to work for the FBI that Paul Dozier used and Tony Edens used her and I used her, and she's just doing her job. She was building a baseline. The guy came out and felt violated because that was unnecessary. I'm like, whatever, dude. I mean, I should have let the guy that caught the fish take the top line.
Both the guys that did me, they were two different dudes, but they were both active FBI agents.
Yeah. But this lady was retired.
Cajuns, right?
No, the guy that was in Florida when we won the one in Jacksonville was from Chicago, and the other guy that was in Louisiana was from Atlanta, Georgia.
No shit.
Yeah, and they were FBI agents there.
Yeah, that's scary enough. They're like, come with me, son.
I had the old coon ass over it. Lafitte do mine. And I'm like,
Well, damn, guys. Well, shit, it's I hate to cut you short, Greg. I think we've covered a lot. I mean, you've been like one of my favorite guests, dude.
Thank you.
You speak really well, but we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
We see each other in the hospital, and I've even ran into you before the Flounder Pounder when I was at the Winn-Dixie. We every time I see you, because I don't see you, but I follow you. And I was telling Bob, I follow. I always look for the most familiar names of the people I've known been doing it, and I've always seen you and Steve Ivey. And your partner's a great guy, dude. Big shout out to Steve Ivey.
Steve is a great guy.
That's another thing about this. It's hard to get both players in here. Like we're bringing Damien in, but his partner Nick Carter is a stud. Yeah, we want to let the guys know that the guys that this is not a me thing. This is a team, but we just don't have the capabilities to bring 4 mics in here. It might be all. You might not get a word in.
I from the first time I met Steve, first of all, he's a great man. Loves his wife. Great father. Super good guy. And when you're on the tour, you got to think when you're gone for 7 days, you're 12 inches away from him for 20 hours in the truck, and then you're side by side. Steve and I have the best conversations about not just fishing, but about life. Yeah. And I would almost take a guy that I can get along with better and really relate to and look up to like I do to Steve, because he's so polished in every aspect of his life.
Well, you're professionals.
Well, yes.
I mean, you know how to do it. There comes a time when you start learning. We got to travel. We got to get our bags. It's just like.
Steve's a great planner, and he works, and he's a good pre-fishing guy.
You got to have somebody.
I mean, he does it all.
So getting back when Bob and I laid our plan out for the FLA, that first one, Bob's plan was get the reds, and he looked at me for the trout, and it all came together, man. I mean, it's like it was a perfect plan, but well, man, hey, you think you might want to come in after you run the tournament circuit this year?
Sure, man. I do it. I love being around you guys.
Yeah, isn't it fun, dude?
Shoot,
it is fun.
Man,
I mean, I told Bob, I mean, it's like when I had this place and I had a room and I did radio with Vic Tyson and the guys for 6 years, and I really wanted to get back on the microphone. And Bob and I kicked it around. And I said, if I ever have the opportunity to do a podcast, I want to talk about my history of fishing and things like that, and bring in people that are enthusiastic, good, great. And all our guests have been absolutely amazing. But this one has been really special, dude, because I just feel like we've known each other forever. I got to hear your story because I've watched you win. I've watched you at the hospital when we're just passing by. You're going into cases. now I get to hear about how much you've accomplished and what you endured with your wife and going through your divorce and then coming back on top. It's been solid, man. Really good show, man.
If anybody out there, just made me think of something. If anybody's out there dealing with that kind of stuff, and just
reach out to him.
Reach out to me, because it gets better. And I have met everybody that knows Jen always says the same thing to me. Greg, you are so far out of your league, dude. How did you pull that off? And I did, man. She is my. I know this sounds cliche, but she is my best friend. Nice. She's an awesome mother, just a great woman, and she is smoking hot, man.
Yeah,
love her.
Well, I mean, some of the things that we've discussed about your situation, your divorce, still hurt me to this day. And that, talking about being in a deep, dark place and to come back out of it. Yeah. It's just a testament.
It is.
To the man you are and the faith you have,
Look where, I mean, we've all been challenged. I've been challenged with, a lot of crosses I carry every day on my chest. Sometimes, I mean, I'm seriously interested in talking to you and maybe doing that, because sometimes I find myself later in life, I live alone and I don't really, I'm not the big gun. I mean, you like to have people you can talk to. So it's something I want to talk about. But I got to ask this guy real quick. Mr. Producer Man, can you do the riff one more time on the way out? Yeah. You want to hear it one more time?
Oh, sure.
I've never seen anybody more excited than this guy about this damn riff.
He loves that riff.
I want to hear it, man. Let me get my glasses on. Hang on. Yeah. So, but Greg, we'd love to have you come back.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
I know we can't get everything in one show, but I think we really knocked this out of the park. Bob, good job on that. And,
Bob.
And we're going to I'll keep up to date with you. We'll talk about you. Okay. When we talk to Damien next week, we'll talk about your third place, because you're in the top 5 of that tournament.
Yeah, top 5. Mm-hmm.
We'll
we kind of ran out of time.
Yeah, but we'll definitely mention this.
I mean, everybody I talked to, I'll say this before we shut down, is that, I talked to a few people, and I think you were on the best bite that day. Because Damien them said they only got like a couple, but you kind of wore them out all day. But we'll save that for another time. But it hurt my feelings.
And if you need to get in touch with Grant, you can always reach out to me. But my producer man's going to hit this one more. And I want to try to take this off the air. We want to take a big thank you right now. I want to say thank you to Greg, the man.
Thank you.
Bob Morris. All the people listening, going to watch. We're probably going to get more people after this one. I love this. John Metcalf, you killed it on this one. Next week, we got my man Damien coming in. We are 904 Unfiltered. I'm Chip Davis. We're going to catch you.